Did you know that a massive 80% of major engine failures could be completely avoided with just a few basic maintenance steps that you can easily do right in your own driveway? It sounds absolutely crazy, but I see it every single day in the shop. People completely ignore tiny little warning signs, they skip the basic routine upkeep, and suddenly they are staring down a catastrophic repair bill that costs more than their car is actually worth. You absolutely do not need to be a master mechanic with a garage full of expensive pneumatic tools and hydraulic lifts to keep your ride running like it just rolled off the showroom floor. The truth that the automotive industry definitely does not want you to realize is that modern cars, despite all their complex computers and sophisticated sensors, still rely on the exact same basic principles of internal combustion that they have for well over a century: air, fuel, and spark. If you can manage how your car handles those three crucial elements, you are completely golden. Today, we are going over some absolute game-changing tips that will seriously boost your horsepower, save you a massive ton of cash at the gas pump, and easily add tens of thousands of miles to the life of your engine. Stick around until the very end of this, because some of these tricks are things your local dealership definitely does not want you doing yourself at home, simply because it severely cuts into their highly profitable service department revenue. Dealerships operate on a strict flat rate system, which means those mechanics are paid by the job, not by the hour. They want to get cars in and out as fast as possible to maximize their profit margins. By doing these simple tasks yourself, you ensure the job is done right, with maximum care and without paying those exorbitant labor fees. I have spent countless hours reading through endless forums, studying complex repair manuals, and wrenching on everything from beat-up daily drivers to high-end performance machines. And I am here to share that hard-earned knowledge directly with you today so you can save your hard-earned cash. Let us kick things off with something that almost everyone completely neglects until their engine starts shaking violently, and that is the ignition system, specifically the spark plugs. A lot of folks mistakenly assume that because modern vehicles have advanced coil-on-plug ignition systems and incredibly smart engine computers, they never really need to worry about the spark plugs until the car completely dies on the side of the highway. That is a massive misconception. Your spark plugs sit right inside the combustion chamber, surviving thousands of explosive blasts of fire every single minute, completely surrounded by blistering heat and immense cylinder pressure. Over time, the tiny metal electrodes at the very tip of the spark plug physically wear down and vaporize. As that metal wears away, the physical gap between the center electrode and the ground strap gets wider and wider. Eventually, that gap becomes so incredibly wide that the electrical ignition coil simply cannot generate enough voltage to jump the spark across it reliably. When that happens, you get what is called a cylinder misfire. The precise fuel and air mixture enters the cylinder. Let us say you are driving a typical vehicle with a 2,000 cubic centimeter engine displacement, but there is absolutely no spark to ignite it. That means all that raw, unburnt liquid gasoline gets pumped straight out of the exhaust valves and directly into your incredibly expensive catalytic converter. Raw liquid fuel will completely melt the internal delicate honeycomb structure of a catalytic converter in absolutely no time at all, turning a cheap routine maintenance job into a massive repair bill that can easily reach well over $1,000. Replacing your spark plugs is one of the most satisfying and straightforward jobs you can tackle yourself. You just need a basic ratchet, a dedicated spark plug socket with a rubber insert to protect the fragile porcelain, and a few extensions. Pull the ignition coils off, carefully unscrew the old plugs, and always thread the new ones in by hand before tightening them down. I highly recommend upgrading to high-quality iridium spark plugs. Iridium is an incredibly dense, durable, precious metal that resists wear far better than traditional copper, giving you a much smoother idle. Next up on the agenda, we have to talk about a piece of hardware that acts as the literal windpipe of your engine, the throttle body. When you step your foot down aggressively on the gas pedal, you are not actually feeding the engine more fuel directly like most people naturally assume. What you are actually doing is mechanically or electronically opening a metal butterfly valve inside the throttle body to let more ambient outside air rush into the intake manifold. Your engine control unit sees that massive gulp of extra air and immediately matches it with the precise amount of fuel injected into the cylinders. But here is the major problem that develops slowly over time. As you drive day after day, that throttle body gets heavily coated in this nasty, sticky black carbon buildup. This gunk mostly comes from the hot oil vapors naturally recirculating through your engine crankcase, and it aggressively bakes onto the inside walls of the throttle body and right along the sharp edges of that butterfly valve due to the intense underhood heat. When that happens, the valve physically cannot close all the way, or it heavily sticks when it tries to open smoothly. The sensitive airflow gets completely disrupted, and the engine computer gets heavily confused. You will start noticing a really rough, vibrating idle. Maybe the car visibly shakes when you are stopped at a red light with your foot firmly on the brake. Your gas mileage will absolutely tank, and you will definitely feel a sluggish loss of power when you try to accelerate hard. Fixing this issue is incredibly simple and unbelievably cheap. Locate the throttle body, loosen the metal hose clamps with a simple flathead screwdriver, pull off the thick rubber air hose, and carefully disconnect the electrical wiring harness. Grab a specific can of dedicated throttle body cleaner spray from the auto parts store. Do not ever use harsh brake cleaner because those chemicals can completely strip the special friction-reducing molybdenum coating applied to the inside of modern throttle bodies. Spray the cleaner onto a clean microfiber towel and meticulously wipe out all that sticky black carbon gunk. Do not force the electronic valve open with your bare fingers. Once it is spotless, put it all back together, and you will instantly notice a crisper throttle response. Moving right along, we desperately need to discuss a tiny, inexpensive plastic component that causes absolutely massive financial headaches if you ignore it. I am talking about the positive crankcase ventilation valve, or PCV valve for short. This little piece of engineering is something I am specifically adding to our list today because so many everyday drivers, and frankly even some lazy mechanics, have absolutely no idea it even exists or how vital it is to the overall longevity of your engine. While your engine is running and explosions are happening thousands of times a minute, some of those highly pressurized, superheated combustion gases inevitably sneak right past the metal piston rings and build up intense pressure inside the lower half of the engine, known as the crankcase. The PCV valve is essentially a simple one-way mechanical door that allows those harmful blow-by gases to safely vent out of the crankcase and cleanly routes them back into the engine intake manifold so they can be burned off safely in the combustion chamber. It is a brilliant system until that little valve gets completely clogged up with old, sludgy, degraded engine oil. When that valve gets permanently stuck in the closed position, all that internal engine pressure has absolutely nowhere to escape. The pressure violently forces its way out by blowing out your main engine seals. We are talking about the rear main seal, the front main seal, and the valve cover gaskets. This causes massive puddling oil leaks. Before paying for an expensive diagnostic fee, you can actually just reach behind the engine block with your iPhone, turn the flash on, and snap a quick photo to check for any fresh oil seeping down the back of the metal block. On the flip side, if the valve gets stuck in the open position, it acts like a massive, unmetered vacuum leak, causing your engine to run terribly lean. Changing the PCV valve is usually as simple as locating it on top of your engine, pulling it straight out of the rubber grommet, disconnecting a small vacuum hose, and pushing a brand new one right into place. Test your old one by shaking it right next to your ear. If it does not rattle freely, it is completely clogged and needs to go straight into the trash. All right, let us quickly shift gears and look closely at an electronic sensor that possesses the absolute power to make your normally peppy car feel totally gutless, weak, and completely dead on arrival. I am talking about the mass airflow sensor, commonly known as the MAF sensor. This is a tiny, super sensitive, highly sophisticated piece of digital electronics that sits right inside your main plastic air intake tract. Its entire purpose in life is to constantly measure exactly how much physical air is flowing into the engine and at what exact temperature that air is currently sitting at. It takes all of this continuous data and sends it at lightning speed to the main engine computer. The computer then uses complex mathematical algorithms to calculate exactly how much raw fuel to inject through the fuel injectors to maintain the perfect optimal air to fuel ratio for clean combustion. Over tens of thousands of miles, microscopic particles of road dust and ambient oil vapors naturally bypass your air filter and slowly coat the incredibly delicate, heated metal wire sitting inside this sensor. When that hot wire gets insulated by a microscopic layer of baked-on dirt, it physically cannot measure the passing air accurately anymore. It starts sending bad, corrupted math to your engine computer. Suddenly you are dealing with awful, dangerously slow acceleration. Your car will aggressively hesitate when you try to merge onto a fast highway, and your idle speed will jump around. Cleaning this vital sensor is incredibly easy. First, completely turn off your engine, pull the keys out, let the engine bay cool down, and disconnect the negative terminal on your car battery. Locate the MAF sensor right after the air filter box. Unplug the electrical connector, unscrew it, and carefully pull the sensor out. You absolutely must buy a specific spray can of mass airflow sensor cleaner. Hold the sensor over a rag and give the fragile wires inside about 15 short, quick bursts of the chemical spray. Do not touch those internal wires with absolutely anything at all. They will break instantly. Just let the chemical spray do all the heavy lifting. Let it air dry completely for 10 minutes, screw it back securely, and plug it back up. Last on our list, but certainly not least in terms of critical importance, let us talk about the absolute simplest piece of maintenance that everyday drivers somehow still manage to completely forget about: the engine air filter. Your car engine needs to forcefully pull in thousands of gallons of outside ambient air for every single gallon of gasoline it burns. The engine air filter is the one and only physical line of defense keeping dangerous road rocks, hard-shelled bugs, dead autumn leaves, abrasive dust, and highway debris from getting sucked right past the intake valves and permanently scoring your expensive metal cylinder walls. When that filter gets heavily clogged up with thick layers of dirt, it is exactly like trying to run a grueling marathon while trying to breathe through a thick, heavy wool winter blanket. The internal mechanics of the engine have to work twice as hard just to pull the necessary air in, which completely kills your snappy throttle response and utterly ruins your daily fuel efficiency. A brand new, high-quality replacement air filter usually costs less than $18 at literally any local auto parts store in town. And for the vast majority of vehicles on the road today, whether you are driving a heavy-duty truck or a sleek modern hybrid like the Hyundai Ioniq, where the internal combustion engine still needs to breathe freely, you do not even need a single hand tool. Just pop the latch on your hood, unclip the metal spring latches holding the plastic lid down, pull out the old filter, and drop the brand new bright white one right into the slot. Like Chris Fix or the guys over at Mighty Car Mods always say, grabbing some basic tools and tackling this stuff yourself is the best way to get to know your ride. By just taking a relaxing Saturday afternoon in your own driveway to tackle these straightforward, beginner-friendly maintenance jobs, you are absolutely guaranteeing that your engine runs noticeably smoother, pulls significantly harder, and lasts significantly longer. It really just comes down to knowing exactly what to look for and having the personal confidence to try it. I really want to hear directly from you down in the comments section below. Which one of these specific maintenance tips are you going to tackle on your own car this upcoming weekend? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let the automotive community know your best secrets. If you want to keep your car running like a complete beast, make sure you smash that subscribe button. I will see you all in the very next video. Drive safe out there.